Alright, so just had my spare fixed. Uh, you know how they say that you know who the good plumber is if they have a butt crack? This is kind of like it. I don't know anything about New Mexico. My exposure to New Mexico is that it's mostly barren, basically flat, with exception of certain areas that all of a sudden it's like wow kind of thing, right? And your average kind of town that you pass along the way typically consists of people putting all sorts of garbage and junk in front of their house, right? So it's not surprised that along the way there's all sorts of towns like that. So good luck trying to find a repair shop that could actually facilitate your needs. So one of the issues that you might run into as an RVer is the fact that in case you need to service your tires, not every shop is equipped to deal with that kind of stuff, right? So this particular one deals with trucks, deals with haulers, all sorts of stuff like that. So the downside is the guy is extremely grumpy. Legitimately grumpy. I mean, that he's really good at his job because he really hates his job. There's not a second that goes by where he isn't mumbling something about anything, right? So don't be surprised if he is mean to you, okay? Have patience. The facility is called J&R Tire Repair. It's in Moriarty, New Mexico. I highly recommend the guy, despite the fact that he will probably chew you out with some choice words along the way. But he's like that to everybody, because when I was there, he was just constantly going off and off and off and off and off and off. And, when he was finally getting around to my tire, I had the audacity to very politely remind him to please put a metal valve stem in there. So, nevertheless, excellent work. I highly recommend, in case you ever get in a situation like I am, the town of Moriarty, J&R Tire Repair. So a lot of lessons learned. I'm assuming that everything that I have has metal valve stems. I would like to assume so. Everything is stock with the exception of that one tire that had that rubber thingamajig. So if you have a spare tire, if you have any kind of tire on your RV, I would highly recommend getting metal valve stems. Especially if you have those tire sensor thingamajigs. Now, I was told, okay, here's the interesting factoid about it. I was told that apparently something like a TST tire sensor places undue strain on the valve stem, which causes them to fail. Okay, I'll take that as it goes, right? I had that tire changed in Needles district of Moab, right? So I've driven from Needles district to Moab, right? And then through Moab back and forth as I was changing campsites and dumping tanks and whatnot, right? I've then driven that RV all the way from Moab via 128 to the Onion Creek, to Grand Junction, Colorado, to Ouray, Colorado, to Silverton, Colorado, to Durango, Colorado, and beyond to the BLM lands. And I've driven that vehicle from BLM land all the way to Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I'm gonna do this live. I really don't know what the answer is. I'm gonna look at the Google Maps and see what the mileage is. I figure it has to be probably 500-600 miles, if not more. Whether it failed because of it, I don't know. I really don't. I'm doing this in the background as so we're gonna find out the answer together. Alright, so this is Monticello and LaSalle. So this is roughly from there. Directions from here to Moab. Come on, computer, directions to here. So, and then we're gonna go to Grand Junction. And then we're gonna go to Durango. Or actually, you know what, let's just go straight to Albuquerque, because what the hell. At least get like a general feel for what the distance is. That's Durango. But we're talking about several hundred miles anyways. So whether it has caused the failure or it hasn't caused the failure, now they are of opinion that it did. I don't know. Just to get like a general. So that's 534 miles without actually going to. So it lasted probably for 600 miles. So whether the rubber stamps cause issues, I don't know. I have no way of telling. But my advice to you as an RVer is look at your valve stems and change them out, because if that's what it takes, it will save you the kind of hassle that I had to go through. I mean, nobody wants to be caught in that kind of situation, if you know what I'm saying. Here's the interesting factoid. So yesterday I talked about having somewhat of a premonition of things to come. This morning, after having resolved all of this, and after, I have this sense of calm about me. I don't know, maybe it's because the inevitability of dealing with things as they come, if you know what I mean. I have a very long trip ahead of me. This time I'm doing it differently. So to get you an idea, to get to Utah from Florida, I did the 4-day trek across the country. I was driving just over a tad, over 500 miles a day. I think it was like 520 or something like that. 2,100 miles to be exact. The way back is roughly about the same mileage, give or take. I'm doing it differently. So the goal was to do 250, 250, 250, 250, and then 500, 500, or just keep doing 250s. And I'll tell you this, yesterday, even with the weather conditions the way they were, if you don't count the tire shenanigans that I've had to endure, it wasn't that bad. Okay, it was doable. Maybe not the most optimal, but totally doable. I think I've driven 5.5 hours, but that's only because I was delayed by the weather, because I was driving like 30 miles an hour for a very long time, through this horrible rain and wind and everything. And honestly, I don't care if as I was doing that on 550 with all sorts of lightning bolts hitting around me and like this ginormous wind gusts that were tilting my RV whichever which way, and the torrential downpour, I'm doing 30. I don't care about anybody else. There were people like hauling taters, 50, 60 miles an hour. If you want to do that, be my guest. My safety comes first. I'm sorry. It's not worth turning, over because you have to get somewhere a little bit faster. So, all right, well, today the goal at the end of my workday is to basically make my way to Amarillo, Texas area. From there to Oklahoma, from there just keep taking I-40, whichever way the states fall along I-40. Eventually kind of cut through Alabama towards Florida. So that's kind of it. Those are the updates for today. Once I get to Texas, I'll let you know how it went.